The frantic, relentless rhythm of the modern world has woven a tapestry of stress that clings to our souls, a pervasive anxiety born of constant connectivity and unending expectation. We chase fleeting moments of peace with temporary distractions, yet the profound, soul-deep rest we truly yearn for remains elusive. This yearning is not new. It is a universal ache that has echoed through the chambers of the human heart since time immemorial. An intrinsic need for stillness that the sages, prophets, and mystics of every great tradition recognized and addressed with solemn wisdom. Their teachings, enshrined in the oldest scriptures and whispered in the quiet halls of prayer, are not relics of a forgotten past, but rather a potent, living antidote to the chaos we face today. They offer not a quick fix, but a transformative path, a profound reorientation of the inner life that connects us to the eternal source of peace and resilience. This wisdom, steeped in millennia of spiritual practice, beckons us to turn our gaze inward, to the sanctuary of the spirit, where true rest is found not in escape from the world, but in a deep, abiding connection to the divine purpose that undergirds all existence. The most fundamental of these timeless practices is the discipline of prayer, understood not merely as petition, but as conscious communion with the ultimate reality. In an age where our attention is fragmented and our inner dialogue is dominated by worry, prayer compels a radical shift. It is the act of anchoring the scattered mind in the unshakable presence of the Creator. Whether through the recitation of sacred texts, the rhythmic repetition of a holy name, or the silent, surrendered outpouring of the heart, prayer is the deliberate practice of placing our burdens, our fears, and our anxieties into a hands mightier than our own. This act of spiritual relinquishment is profoundly therapeutic. It transfers the impossible weight of control from the finite self to the infinite, transforming a feeling of overwhelming personal responsibility into an experience of divine partnership and trust. When we truly pray, we move beyond the transient concerns of the hour and immerse ourselves in the eternal perspective, recognizing that our struggles are momentary shadows against the brilliance of God's enduring love and unwavering providence, thus dissolving the tension that paralyzes the soul. Complementary to prayer is the ancient art of meditation and contemplative stillness, a practice universally embraced across religious landscapes to quiet the incessant, demanding chatter of the ego. The stress of modernity is, in essence, an inability to be present, a mind perpetually cycling between the regrets of the past and the anxieties of the future. Spiritual contemplation demands a radical commitment to the now, urging us to inhabit the moment as a sacred space gifted by the divine. Through disciplined focus on breath, a sacred image, or a theological truth, we train the mind to cease its habitual grasping and striving. This process is not a passive mental vacation, but an active spiritual exercise in non-attachment to thought, allowing us to perceive the fundamental ground of our being beyond the ephemeral swirl of our emotional and mental processes. This sacred stillness reveals a deeper self, one that is intrinsically whole and untouched by the external turmoil, offering a steady harbor of peace that is accessible at any moment, regardless of the storm raging outside the vessel of our lives. The spiritual virtue of detachment, or vairagya in Eastern traditions, is a particularly powerful weapon against the consumerist-driven stress of our age. Modern life constantly teaches us to find our identity and security in external metrics: wealth, achievement, appearance, and social validation, creating a fragile existence perpetually threatened by loss or failure. The ancient wisdom, however, counsels that the path to inner freedom lies in disentangling our deepest self-worth from these material and transient attachments. This is not a call to indifference or neglect, but rather an invitation to engage with the world with spiritual non-clinging, using resources and enjoying experiences without allowing them to possess our peace. When our happiness is rooted in the unchanging truth of our spiritual identity and our relationship with the divine, the inevitable ebb and flow of fortune loses its power to destabilize us. This sacred indifference to outcome allows us to act with greater clarity and courage, knowing that our ultimate inheritance is secure and cannot be diminished by any worldly reversal or disappointment. Furthermore, the religious emphasis on community, the Sangha, the Church, the Ummah, provides a crucial buffer against the isolating effects of modern individualized stress. The illusion of self-sufficiency is one of the most debilitating burdens of our time, forcing individuals to carry the full weight of life's challenges alone. Ancient traditions recognize that human beings are fundamentally communal creatures, designed to find strength, accountability, and solace within a spiritual fellowship. The shared rituals, the communal prayer, the collective singing of hymns, and the simple act of breaking bread together create sacred relational bonds that dissipate anxiety and foster a sense of belonging. In a spiritual community, our brokenness is met with grace, our needs are affirmed, and our personal struggles are contextualized within the larger redemptive narrative of the group's shared faith. This vital social tapestry provides not only emotional support, but also practical opportunities to transcend the self-absorption that feeds worry by focusing on the welfare of others. The religious practice of service and compassionate action stands as a magnificent counterpoint to the self-centered nature of anxiety. When the mind is consumed by worry, its focus is relentlessly inward, fixated on perceived threats and personal deficits. Turning outward in sincere acts of charity and selfless giving breaks this cycle of introspection and reclaims a sense of purpose and efficacy. When we minister to the suffering of others, our own burdens are often recontextualized and diminished. The act of offering comfort naturally shifts our emotional landscape from scarcity to abundance. Service is an applied theology. It is the living manifestation of the belief that we are instruments of a greater love and a greater good. This outward focus, this loving sacrifice of time, resources, or comfort, is a profoundly liberating force, grounding us in the reality of human connection and replacing the paralysis of fear with the dynamic energy of divine love in action. The intentional cultivation of gratitude is another deeply embedded spiritual practice that acts as a profound antidote to the stress of dissatisfaction. The modern mind is often conditioned by comparison and a relentless pursuit of the next best thing, leading to a perpetual state of not enoughness. Religious traditions, however, universally prescribe the naming and acknowledging of blessings as a daily, even momentary, spiritual discipline. Gratitude is the conscious affirmation that life, in its entirety, is a gift from a benevolent source, transforming even difficult circumstances into opportunities for growth and deeper reliance on faith. This practice shifts the focus from what is lacking or what might be lost to the overwhelming bounty that is already present. A heart that is constantly giving thanks leaves little room for corrosive worry, creating an internal environment of spiritual contentment and quiet joy, a bedrock of peace that cannot be eroded by the inevitable trials and tribulations of the external world. Ultimately, the great lesson from the reservoir of ancient wisdom is that true peace, the cessation of debilitating stress, is not achieved by mastering the external world, but by achieving harmony with the eternal reality. The practices of prayer, meditation, detachment, community, service, and gratitude are not separate techniques. They are integrated facets of a single, holistic spiritual life that is fundamentally surrendered to a higher power. They invite us to trade the exhausting burden of self-management for the effortless grace of divine alignment. This is the timeless contract of faith, to relinquish the illusion of absolute control and receive in return a peace that transcends all earthly understanding. The path to overcoming modern stress is thus a journey of return, a return to the sacred core of our being, where the ancient wisdom is rediscovered as the ever-present truth, providing a steadfast light to guide us through the darkest anxieties of our contemporary age.